Hey everybody, this is Rasp. I wanted to do a quick video for two reasons. One, there's some new features I've added to the online manager that I wanted to discuss. And two, I promised that I would put together a quick instructional video on how to better use the tool to manage your roster and also to find players that meet your team's strategy. So with that, let's get started. Right. So, first thing we'll go down to is league reports. So, the first report you have is players' salary insights. So, player salary insights will basically take all the players and it will correlate each position for a grouping based off of your overall rating. So, quarterback with the overall ratings of 100 to 95. The minimum salary for this range would be 163, the maximum 320, and the average salary for these would be 196. You can do this for all the positions and for all the overall ratings. I didn't bother doing it below 59. But the reason why I chose to do overall was more or less the game uses the overall for salaries. That in addition to how greedy the player is based off of the money attribute in their skills. And also it depends on when they're, if you're drafting and they're still under the draft contract versus if they were a seasoned veteran that you had to sign, etc. But this is very helpful when you're looking to sign free agents during the preseason time period where you're not really sure what you should be offering and you're bidding against other people, and this kind of allows you some better insight into where these players are. And I'm willing to bet the maximums for some of these players are probably because they were a free agent reach or bid on some really high-end player. So that's tool number one. Tool number two is your team status. The team status takes a little bit of time because it's correlating all of the team data information and also going out to the websites and checking to see what the statuses are of pending exports. So in the preseason, this is going to be a lot more helpful, especially to the admins. But essentially, this will summarize all the teams, and it will highlight things that are not not meeting the league standards. For example, if you're over salary, or maybe you have too many active players, if your positions don't have enough positions, or you have too many positions, etc. For a player or an owner, this will allow you to get the feedbacks that, hey, I have a pending export, or I exported, it sees that I exported, so I was good, and my last time I exported, it was successful. So again, this is last export, so when the game was simulated, the admin will import any pending exports. This is the date that you export, last time you exported, and this was the results. Usually the invalid key means is that it was an old export. So it saw an export there, but it wasn't an export that matched the bin date. So when you load the game, you have to load the game from the website. If you don't do that, like you load locally and then you go through, you'll get an invalid. And then there's another status that indicates you're on the wrong version when we start to deal with versions, but normally that's the beginning of the releases of software. The other thing you might use this for is looking to trade. Maybe you're looking for people that might be in the market for maybe the Buffalo Bills has a full, but they obviously don't have fullbacks, but maybe they want a fullback. It might be something that'd be interesting for you to trade, or maybe you're looking to get a wide receiver, so you can look to say, oh, Chicago's got 8 wide receivers, so maybe you might be able to get a good deal from Chicago because they are loaded with wide receivers. This also tells you last time the exports, but basically this kind of gives you a summary of everything that's going on. Are you compliant with everything? is your exports good, and basically how many players and everything all their teams have. So then let's go up to team management. Under team management, we have team contracts and position breakouts. Under the team contracts, this will basically tell you where you are for the current year, and this will tell you where you are projected to be for next year's. So inside of this, you will notice that there are different colors. So this blue color here shows that, hey, I have a pending contract. I made an offer for a player, and I'll show you how this works in a second. But this offer will show up in your proposed salaries. So as you continue to make offers down here, it will add on here, so you'll see what your available salary is from a projection perspective. Now, the one thing that this does not take into account is bonuses. The game does not expose bonuses, or at least I haven't found where it might be exposed. So this is really what the game says your next year's salary is versus your versus this year's salary. All right. So the other thing too is when you're making an offer, this propose button is going to be for what that starting date is for next year. It's not going to be like if you're front loaded or back loaded or anything to that effect. It's really just going to reflect here for next year projections. It's not looking at long term like a 5-year projection, just a follow up for the next year. So when you're in here, if you don't have you haven't made a contract offer, and they're not under contract, then it will show, hey, this person needs to be signed. If you did make a proposal to a player and that player signs, it will recognize that this player did sign, and it will highlight it in a different one and saying this player signed. So AJ Dewey was a holdout, and so I was able to sign him, and so that's where this came into place. So now to sign a play or to offer a contract, this does not offer the contract in the game. This is just a way for you to track it. So inside of here, let's say that I want to go to Wade Wilson. I want to make an offer. So inside the game, I'll make an offer to him, but I'll track it here, or I will set it up here to kind of go through and emulate what I might want to do in the game so I can see what the impact is. And maybe I'm going to offer him $100,000 for a contract. So that ups that and brings us down. So as I go through, I can go through my each of the players' offer contracts, and I can see what that looks like next year. Then let's say this year I have an issue with my salary cap. I don't, but let's just say I did, and I need to cut a player. And so maybe I'm just a little bit over salary, and I have 2 fullbacks. And so he's on practice squad. He's not signed next year, so it looks like a good place to do, but maybe I don't know what the impact would be, so I can go and mark it as a cut player. This doesn't cut the player in the game. What this does is it gives you a projected salary and salary cut. So as you do that, it will recalculate your current year. So I will show you this again. So without him being cut, you'll notice that the available salary I have is only $207,000. Now if I go to cut the player, you'll notice now it's $224,000, and it will take into account the your cut salaries would increase by $3,000 because there's a 15% penalty, and then your total player salary will go up by $20,000, and so recalculate that. So this will help you with your calculations. Right. The next one to go to is your position breakout. So in your position breakout, this is going to tell you the league rules, the min-max for each of the positions that are required, and then it will give you the ability to add what you want to be on your team. So even though the minimum is 2, I want 2, that's fine. Running back would be a good example. I want 3 running backs on my team normally versus 2 to 5. And so over here, it will track how many people you have in your practice squad, if you have anybody in injured reserve, how many people are active, if you have an overage for required or for wanted. So, for example, in the fullback, I want 1. The league requires 0. So I technically cut both of my fullbacks and still be in compliant because I got 2. I can cut 2 fullbacks. If I want to have the ideal roster, which is a single fullback, then I can still cut one fullback. And here I'm short one of what I want, but from a league perspective, I meet the requirements. So this really is there to help kind of when you're looking at it, where are you at with your roster? During the season, it's not super helpful, but when you are on the preseason aspects, when you first get your team and moving in there, it's really helpful to be able to quickly view where you're missing players, or you have an abundance of players after you make a lot of bids on free agents and pull more people for a certain position than you were wanting to, etc. Both of your team managements will feed into the watch list, and the watch list I'll talk to you about in a few minutes. Now, let's go to search players. All right, so search players. Search players, you first of all, the important piece is going to be your grading profile. So you select the grading profile that you want. The default one that comes with the application, if you haven't created any custom grading profiles, is going to be based solely on the overall player numbers. So the grading profiles is essentially a metrics of weights, weighting averages for each of your abilities. So if you feel like there's certain abilities that you don't want to count at all towards grading this person, then you can set it to 0 and it won't count it. Or if you feel like it's really important, then you rate it higher than other ones. This concept I got from Wob a long time ago in one of his videos, and I ran with it, and this is my third iteration of continuing to improve off of that idea. So thanks, Wob, for that shout out. So essentially, the grading profiles, we'll talk about that in a minute, but you'll set it down here to create your custom profiles. You select that, and then what I like to do is be able to go through in the status. And under statuses, during the season, I'll select free agent, practice squad, and my team. Oops, that's not my team, my team. Now, during the draft, you'll also have a draft option as well. So you'll be able to see your drafted players too. So with that, I select my team, free agents, and everything else. Your team will always be highlighted in this red so that you'll know which ones are your players versus which ones are free agents or other players. So inside of here, let's say I'm in the market for a quarterback. I select the quarterbacks. I can see which quarterbacks are here. So maybe I need a third screen, and maybe I like Scott Bull. So with Scott Bull, I'm going to go ahead and click on the heart. Now, because we're during the season and free agents there, you don't have a choice of how much you're going to offer him. So the game will say this is how much you have to offer him. So here I would go ahead and add in whatever it is, but let's just go with 40,000. This will also be notes. If you wanted to add some notes like, hey, this is a reach player, or this player is on Washington's practice squad, or whatever else you want to put in there, you can put it in, but that's notes just for you to kind of keep track. Then you click on add watch list. He's got this little heart, and he's on there, and you continue to shop. Now I can go back to the watch list, and Scott will be added onto this watch list with a salary, and then there's this priority. So the priorities, you have this concept of the minimum priority level, and so I added this in there because while you're in preseason during the time period where you were doing free agents, a lot of times when I'm doing free agents, I'm looking at, I have reach, and then I have ones that I really want to go for, and the ones I really want to go for, the likelihood is higher odds that I'm going to get that player because I'm going to push more money and try to outbid people from them, versus a reach player, which might be somebody that I'm hoping other people don't bid on, or that because I'm weak in certain spots, that player might just find my team more attractive than other people. But if I don't get that player, it doesn't matter. So I'm looking at the players that I think I'm going to be pulling over, and I'll set this urgency, or I'll set this priority level to whatever the urgency is. And by setting this up, this minimum one being urgent is higher than high. would then offer show this under total offers. So this will show this is how much salary I have, and that's based off of your team contracts versus what my offers are. So for my reach, it wouldn't have impacts, but the players that I think I'm going to pull or I'm hoping to pull, I want to see what that is so I can see how that's impacting my salary cap. And so that's pretty much there. Now, for drafts, there's also a watch list for draft players where you click on the for draft players, and I don't have draft enabled, but if you do that, it will not show up here. It will show up in the draft menu for the watch players there instead. The other piece is also your position needs. So this is where I was talking about under the position breakout. So if you have wants or even required players, this would list out all the different players and where you're short of any player. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of track what's happening with your watch list and what's happening over here. So now going back to the search players, the other thing you'll notice is before this, you would leave the screen and this would reset. Now it's saving the state, so I don't have to go back here and redo all these things and select my team and do all that stuff. So now that all should work for you pretty well. If you want to remove them, you can remove them from the other one, or you can remove them here by clicking on that. You'll notice he's all gone. The next thing, now let's talk about player grading. So player grading, again, I have a total down here so you can track it. I like to track my totals to 100 just because I'm kind of anal and I like that nice even number. But two, it also gives me that kind of concept if I'm looking at all players that are out there. Maybe I'm looking at all the free agents, then I can see kind of on a grade level how they all stack up to each other from positions, because knowing that they're all weighted at 100, they're all on the same weighting system. If I have a bunch of different numbers, then it kind of starts changing things around a little bit more. So I just like to do that, but you don't have to do it. Maybe you like to use 500 and you can use 500 for everything. But the other thing to note is this isn't the easiest way of entering information into this user interface, and I'll admit that. I tried to have a spreadsheet type fill, but it didn't work, so I ended up having this download example CSV. So basically you download that file, you open up Excel or Google Docs, you enter it through there, which is much quicker, and then you import it into here with a profile name. The other thing that's cool with it too is if you're using my tool that was like a Google Sheet to do the team manager from that, then you can go to the grid and put that grid into this download example pretty easy. I think it's like just copy paste literally into that and then import it, and bada bing bada boom, you've got your grading moved over from one system to the other. So with that, I'm not going to go through updating everything. I have one profile right now. I'll probably make a second profile for my draft class, but people might want to make multiple things for multiple reasons. An example might be maybe I want to just look at quarterbacks, and I'm going to make this overly simplified. So inside of here, the only thing I care about, so if you have a 0, then there will be no grades added to those attributes. It will not count those attributes as part of the average. So you have to have at least one number if you want it to be counted on there. Otherwise, it's totally ignored. But I'm going to ignore everything else and just say, hey, let's just look at the arm. The arm is where I really want to do. And we're going to save this, and we're going to call this QB arm. Then I'm going to also do another one and say I really care about accuracy, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to 100, and I'm going to save this as a QBA accuracy. All right, so now I have my sets of profiles. The profile that you leave up here is going to be your active profile, which means basically when you go to search players, that's going to be the default profile that search players triggers. So when I go to search players, it's going to be using my QB arm, but I'm going to go ahead and do default, and so we're going to move over to search players, and it did not set to default. But let's just go ahead and go with it. All right, so the quarterback AC or accuracy. So if you remember, we said we're going to ignore all the accuracy, so we're going to come over here and we're going to look at accuracy, and you'll see that all these things are grayed out. So all the zeros are all grayed out, and then you'll notice that on here that these are all set. One of the things that we grade these on is, since we're looking at it, is there's some different colors you can see. So the colors really don't have anything to do with your grade. It has to do with the percentile. So if you hover over these, you'll see what the percentiles are. So that means for quarterbacks with a 90, that's the 90 percentile. So Wade Wilson is better than 90% of other quarterbacks for accuracy, and that's really strong. So it's a dark green versus a light green, which is he's better than 71. Pat Ryan's better than 71%, and continues down to maybe Bob he's at the 32 percentile. So his accuracy is really bad for quarterbacks. So the colors will show up only if they're graded, but the colors are not influenced by the grading, if that makes any sense. But going back to this, is the only thing I was using in here was accuracy, so you'll see 90, 83, etc. Because I did 100 on that, then you'll see that these will match that other level. Now, if I wanted to go look at, and so you can see we are looking at the free agency. Let's clear that. And let's look at all of them. So Joe Montana right now is the most accurate quarterback in the league at this time. So now we're going to go to ARM. And then, so when you switch over to ARMS, then this will switch over and you'll see that ARM is here and you won't see any of these other ones. And again, since we're showing all quarterbacks, then your top, obviously all these are going to be green. So like Jim McMahon is... Didn't know he had that strong of an arm in real life, but I think they've been probably mini camping him. He's at 99%, and so he's a really strong arm quarterback. Yeah, so essentially that's how it works. So as you're going through with it, and to give you a little bit more idea that's more realistic. So if we go back to the player grading, generally, let's say that you wanted a quarterback that can throw really long distance, and so maybe you'll not put 100% in the arm because the arm is important, but so is accuracy, so is intelligence, so is skill. So maybe we'll go like 10% of the skill, because I know a lot of people will undervalue that. Maybe we'll do 50% in arm, 20% in intelligence, and 20% in accuracy, and that's all we care about. So we're going to save that. We'll go back to the search player. And now this will look a little bit different, but similar, because the arm is so important at 50%. But when you start going through, you can see now that as I was talking about, you have other attributes. You'll see that other ones will show up in here. And so it will start to use it and be able to start changing the way that this is based off of how much weight you put on each of these ones. And again, since arm is the main one, you can see here Joe Montana, where he doesn't have the strongest arm out of these, his other ratings are so high that it hikes him up a little bit more. So you would do that for all your different players. So let's talk about the draft a little bit. When the draft comes in place, some of you have already used it. The draft will take your scouting reports that you import, and on this screen you will actually have an import button during the draft time. During draft, when it's not on, you don't have that. and it will take that scouting and it will take the grades and try to compare to what the projection is, and then look back over the last 5 years to players that were picked in those projected rounds and take their average attributes for those, and based off of what the grade is, being an A, B, C, D, where it might fall into there, and kind of try to come up with a projection of what that player might look like, but then overlay it to make it look like this. So you compare the drafts to everything else. So that's basically it on that. And I'm always open for suggestions. There's bugs all over the place, I'm sure. And so like, for example, the default one didn't show up. But so please provide feedback or whatever else. I'm open for it as we continue. I'm going to try to make this tool bigger and better. And for those in other leagues, I'm going to start working on the branding aspects of the game, so that you can use these for your league. So I'm going to open it up a little bit more on the login screens so that people can self-register as well. If you are a league admin, just to let you know, there are the settings and everything will come through where you can select your logos, your colors, um, your league configurations of what your positions are, salary caps, things to that effect. This is where you would enable the college draft, etc. So all these things will be out there for you to use if that's what you want to do. Anyway, give me a tell. Let me know what you think. I appreciate it. Thanks.